This is the Newsload.
Hello, everyone. I'm Carrie Stevenson. I'm with Newsload, and I'm here with Lisa Baker. Hello, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm amazing. So, where are you right now?
I am in Barrie, Ontario right now.
Barrie, Ontario. Oh, okay. So you're close. I thought you were in Halifax or something.
No. Right now I'm in Barrie. I don't live here. Just hanging out for a couple of days in Barrie.
Are you at Frost's place?
I am. I'm at Frosty's house. Yeah.
Okay, because I see his picture in your background, and I'm like, wait a minute. I think I see Mr. Rude himself.
My interview there. Mine.
Isn't Darren Frost?
God, he's the best.
The nicest guy. Like in school, when I watched him when I was a comedy student, he petrified me because he was so angry. But in reality, he's actually a sweet guy.
Very sweet. Yeah.
So let's just get started on the interview. I'm sorry, I was totally confused by the hey, that's Frosty.
Yes. Why do you have a giant picture of Darren Frost in your house?
I know, that's a fan. Especially a family picture.
I'm not just a colleague. I'm also a fan. Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
The president of his fan club.
Now I'm starting to think like when comics come to my house, I should just like beforehand get big pictures made of them and hang it on the wall just to like, and then not say anything. Like they walk through the house and just don't even say anything.
Yeah, or those cardboard cutouts.
Yeah. Why am I here?
I whack to it every night. What's up?
Right.
So when did you start comedy?
Trying to remember what year this is. Like 16 years ago. Yeah, it was like 16 years, I think. The fall was like my 16 or 17. One of those.
And what got you started? Like, did you just like grab a mic and go?
Well, that's an interesting story because I started in St. John's, Newfoundland, and at the time there was no comedy club and there was no mics, and this other than music, right? Very music there, and there was a guy who was he put an ad in the newspaper. That's how long ago this was, and the ad in the newspaper was like, looking for comedians, and I didn't realize at the time because I had never done this. I'd never done stand-up. I had never been even remotely close to the industry. So I didn't realize what he was doing was trying to start a booking agency. So he was trying to build a roster of comedians so that he could start, putting us out for work so that he could make money, we could make money, whatever. And so he started out by doing just like these sort of shows throughout St. John's, venues that would let him do shows. There was no money, there was no anything, but it was basically like a booked mic. And so we would do these shows. I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew I wanted to tell jokes, and so I did. And I seemed like my jokes were doing well, but I had no idea about like segues or building a set. So everything was just all over the place. And then he just kind of disappeared. And then, of course, after that, it's very difficult. So I would do like karaoke nights. I'd walk in and be like, can I have 5 minutes? They're like, well, you can do like 3 songs. And I was like, oh, I just want to tell jokes. And so I would do that. And then eventually I stopped because I was like, you're just spinning your wheels. It's going nowhere. And then Yucks opened in St. John's. And the very first, as soon as they opened, not long after, a few months later, they did the local laugh off or the yuck off or the great, what is it, the Canadian laugh off or whatever. So I did that competition and I came top 3, and then they signed me. So I came top 3 at the local level, make that clear. And then I was signed to Funny Business, which is the agency for Yuck Yucks. And I started out as a middle, and then I started hosting, which was very challenging to become a host. But I loved it because I felt like I got way more skills out of hosting, of course, than I would, being a middle or feature. And then after about 8 years of hosting for Yucks, they bumped me up to headliner, and that's where I've been ever since. And then in between the club shut down in St. John's. Before the club shut down, though, I moved to Alberta. And that's when my career started to really pick up steam. And then, of course, during the pandemic, it just went, phew, so that was great.
But you're fine now. Like you're touring Canada and having fun.
Yeah, like this is it. This is what I do. This is I mean, entertainment is my only source of income. I can't say stand up because stand up is not my only source of income, but everything's in the entertainment industry or related, somehow adjacent. And so, yeah, that's where I am now. So I was supposed to quit my job just as the pandemic was kind of gearing up. And I was like, well, I can't quit my job now because, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and which we thought was only going to be a few months. And then here we are now. But I was able to quit my job immediately once we went back to live performances, just because my following increased like exponentially during the pandemic. And it did translate for me for whatever reason, because I know it doesn't for everyone. But for me, it translated into asses and seats. And so people would come to my shows. They would buy tickets. They will buy merch. Like, it's amazing. So yeah, just fingers crossed it keeps up.
And I'm sure it will, because you are very funny. I see a lot of your social media and such, and it's a delight. I don't know if it has to do with it must be a bunch of things. Your accent is adorable, first off.
Well, they like the accent, yeah. And they like the just brutal honesty.
Yes, yes. But also the reality is you have to write, you have to work, you have to get better.
Right.
Yeah, like you can't just be like, hoity-dee, Lucky Charms, what's up kind of thing. Like,
there's no, yeah. And the other thing is, I don't want to be a caricature. So I don't want to be, like, I get really like, there's times I'll work with a booker and they really go on the Newfie angle. And I'm like, stop it right now. Remove all of that stuff. Because the thing is like, I don't want to be just that thing like of, like the little dancing, like you said, like I'm a leprechaun or whatever. And the other thing is too, is because, there's more to me. I'm not just doing that silly stuff. Like I write, there's a lot more to me than just that. And it's a little offensive. And, and then, to sort of, as a comic, as a Newfoundlander, as a woman, like on so many levels. And the thing is too, like, I'm a comedian from Newfoundland, but I'm not a Newfoundland comedian. And so if you come to my show and you're expecting something like what, other Newfoundland comics do, you're not going to get that. I'm not Jimmy Flynn, like, who's going to come out, and I mean, Jimmy, I know he's from Nova Scotia, but that whole with the sou'wester and the rubber boots, and, I'm not going to do the snook or the Buddy Wass's name. I love that stuff, but that's not where I am. Like, that's not my focus, because for me, that would be require effort for me to kind of sit and write that way, because that's not where my brain goes. But for them, I guess, that's their thing, right?
Amazing. Who is your favorite stand-up comedian?
Well, I mean, it's never just one, right? And it kind of moves around, where you're like, well, I like that person's stuff this week. But in Canada, I came up through watching all these great comics. And my thing is I love comedians. Like, I love watching different styles. So like, if somebody's completely different from me, I'm like obsessed with it. But for me, I love storytellers and I love dirty comedy. So I've always found, like, of course, Darren and Kenny's Rankin Ball, that kind of stuff kills me. Derek Sagan, Jason Rouse, I'm just like, oh my God, this guy, But then at the same time, I think like I'll lose it over Ivan Decker, Sean LeComber. Like, there are comics, and Nikki Payne was huge when I was coming up through for me. So like, it's just all these different sort of comedians with different styles and different things to say. And I just feel like it's really neat to be able to watch people be equally as funny in very different ways. And that's just fascinating to me.
Well, it's almost like writing a book with different genres, it's fascinating to see how the story of, a loving relationship can turn from, vile romance to, Dateline murders,
Right? Yeah. Anything. Yeah, it's like, how did we get here?
That escalated quickly,
Quickly.
Do you have any favorite heckler stories?
I mean, Well, it depends on how you sort of define how they're your favorite. Like favorite good, favorite bad. Like I remember years and years and years ago. This is one of the good ones. I did have a heckler in St. John's, Newfoundland, and the thing with like Newfoundland, starting there, you learn to deal with hecklers very quickly because the hecklers in Newfoundland are probably funnier than you. So you have to be very quick, very very clever. And one night I had this heckler, and it was great. We had this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and he worked for legal aid. And I remember at the end of it, it was like, boom, 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 and then it came back to me, and I just went like, I can't believe I just got owned by someone who works for legal aid. And like, and everybody's laughing, whatever. We had a great time, but that was like one of the more like wholesome, fun ones. And of course, that being said, don't listen to that story and think, oh, I should be, no, fuck off. Don't ever be that person. Regardless, I get that you're thinking like she liked it. Yeah, I did. But I was also very young and stupid, but don't heckle ever. I don't care. I don't care how funny you are. I don't care how nice you are. Don't. But the worst one was, of course, the one that happened in September in Sylvan Lake, Alberta, where the table was just awful, heckling, loud, disruptive, asked to leave, and then the gentleman proceeded to throw the table at me. So that was probably the worst heckler story.
Oh my God, you had an IHOP situation, eh?
Well, he took the whole table, was just like tossed, and it was full of like glass and beer bottles, and so it all smashed. There was broken glass everywhere. I was covered in alcohol. I jump off the stage, confront him, and then you see him smack at me, and then you see me pull my fist back, and then you see all the men jump in because there's the videos online, like it's all the security footage.
What is it called? Like Lisa Baker,
It's just I think it's on YouTube. It might be just like under my account, like my YouTube page or whatever. It's on
like you uploaded it yourself.
Because when they sent me the security footage, I was like, I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I didn't know what it was going to look like. And then I get it and I watch the video and I'm like, I look like a badass. And so I just like I was like, that's going on the internet. Because it just like I didn't realize how quickly I reacted. In the moment, it felt like there was time where there was a few moments where I was like kind of just processing it and like trying to figure out what just happened. But in reality, I didn't. I literally just look at the guy, jump off the stage, and I get in his face. And I mean, I don't know if he'll ever do it again, but he won't to me. I can guarantee you that.
Well,
the amount of people that jumped in was crazy.
Yeah. Hopefully you can do it to anyone because
no. And I really don't believe he thought that I was going to. I think he thought I was just going to like cry or something. I don't think he expected me to be like, okay, let's take this outside and handle it like men.
Because your dick is clearly bigger.
Well, and the thing is, it's just like, I just don't have patience anymore, right? And I was like, sir, if you want to come at me with violence, allow me to match your energy.
Yeah. Let's do that.
And I was willing. I was cocked and loaded. Fist was back. And the amount of male comics in this country that messaged me to say, of all the comedians for that man to throw a table, he picked you. And what a mistake. Because, I know I can list 10 dudes off the top of my head. And I'd be like, oh, he would have cried. You would have been better off throwing a table at him. You know what I mean? Not me. I'm going to fight you. So yeah, it was, but I think that's where we need to be. I think we need to be now at a point where, because people think it's the whole Chris Rock, Will Smith effect, but it's not. It's always been a thing. We've always been at risk of being assaulted at work, harassed.
Oh, absolutely. Even I hate to reference Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze, but the band had chicken wire to prevent the bottle from being thrown at them. This was just a thing in the 80s and 90s, and I guess in the like new millennium and everything, where
to me, because I'm always like, it's always been a thing. I was like, right back to jesters. Like, it's always been a thing that if we say the wrong thing or we upset someone in a certain way, like they'll resort to violence. The thing is with me, because that was the one big question everybody had was, well, what did you say to him? What did you say? And I was like, first of all, you tell me what I could have said that could justify a man throwing a table at me. while I'm performing? And the answer, of course, though, to what I said was nothing. What I said was they need to go because they were disrupting people around them, were getting upset. All those people paid just as much money to see the show as they did. And so I was mad. And of course, the room was packed. And these are people that follow me. So these are people that specifically took time out of their lives, took money out of their budget to come see this show and support what I do. And so I was like, no, you don't, just get out. If you don't want to be here, get out. Like, and so they were asked to leave. And then that's when the guy decided to get violent. But I think we need to start, involving the police. I do believe we need to start pressing charges and things like that. But I also miss the old days when you could just punch a bitch. And so now, like, and I looked at that and I knew too, I was like, no, this guy, like, I knew nothing would have come of it other than a cool video of a female heckler throws table at comedian kicks heckler's ass would have been the tagline on the video. And it would have been hilarious. Well, and I probably would have got like a late night talk show out of it if the boys had to just leave it alone. You know what I mean? But they were like, no, we have to save her. She's in distress. It's like, yeah.
Were you a scrapper as a kid? Is this a common thing?
Well, not as a kid. But as I got older, yeah, for sure. And the thing is too, like, I've been this big since I've been about 14 years old, and I'm about 5'8", and I was probably about like 165 growing up, 175 in high school. A little heavier now, but I'm not a small woman. I have broad shoulders. I can lift like a washing machine, and so
you're a fisherman's friend, if you will.
So for me, it was always, I was the big one in the group. I was the tall one. So if anything was happening at a bar or a party when we were teenagers, they were, I'd get poked, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I can poke back too. And so that's the one thing. It's like when Buddy came out, I was like, oh, dude, you have no idea. Like, I might have to stretch now because I'm old. But like, because I was like, I still got one good one left in me. I really do. I think I got one good fist fight left in me. And I was like, this was the moment I think I was saving it for. And then it slipped away. And so.
Well, maybe you should try some kickboxing, some UFC or something. But apparently the only the weight classes are like 115, 125, and 145. Like, you can't get any heavier. Like, there's fat men, but the women can only be 145. So I don't know, maybe we could start a comic rumble. I won't challenge you, but
there's a few comics I wouldn't mind getting in the ring with. You goddamn right. Actually, I'm gonna bite my tongue because I was gonna say there's one guy who owns most of the industry. Wouldn't mind getting in a fucking octagon with him either. But that would be an unfair fight because he'd be like, what is it? What's the like under featherweight? What's under that?
I don't
know whatever it is. Welter, I don't know. He's like the tiniest.
Tinier than Darren Frost?
Division. What's that?
Tinier than Darren Frost?
Exactly. No, it's not Darren. I love Darren. That's the thing. I don't think I'd qualify for. I don't know what the heavyweight is for men's, but I don't think I'd qualify for that. But like right under, right? Just right under there. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny because the women all look great. And then you see the dudes walking out with a spare tire and you're like, and that's why I don't like heavyweight fights because I love the power of a heavyweight fight. But the thing that I don't like is that they get gassed so quickly. And I'm like, yeah, because you're carrying like 80 extra pounds or something. And like, you're trying to fight, but those knockouts tend to be better. Anyway, we're talking about comedy now. UFC, I love UFC. I like the fights.
Well, I officially want to go on tour with you just so that you can be my bodyguard, but
yes.
Do you have any advice for new comics?
All kinds of it. Well, my first piece of advice is be nice. Always be nice. Being nice in this industry is going to get you a lot further than anything else. You can have an ego, 100%. It's fine. It's healthy to have an ego. But you also need to, because there's so many now I see coming up through that are trying to, and they've always been there, but it seems like now it's even more so. Just trying to skip the line, trying to jump ahead, get there faster. And it's like, it happens when it happens. You got to put the work in. And because the other thing I've noticed is these comics that are like, oh, it's stage time. And it's like, stage time is not the be all and the end all. It really isn't. And there's a point when it becomes, when it can get to a point where there's too much stage time and you start to resent it, right? Especially when you're doing mics. But if you want to move up in the industry, go do the guest spots on the weekends at the pro shows. Watch the headliners. Watch the hosts. You can learn so much from watching. But, and of course, again, professionalism, be nice, all that stuff. And all that stuff will come very quickly.
And it also is about the writing. You write, you rewrite, you keep writing, you keep going.
And yeah, 100%. And write everything, all the time. You never know what's going to work, right? Because, sometimes there's been premises I've had. I had one premise and this blew my mind. And years ago, I tried so hard to make this into like a joke. And it just would never quite land the way I wanted it to land. And then about 4 years ago, all of a sudden we see this huge resurgence of like true crime, So you start seeing all of these movies get made about, all this stuff again, more series. And that was the basis of the joke that I had been doing. And I pulled the joke out, again, blew the dust off, reworked it, and it killed. And I like, pardon the pun. And I was like, it took me 10 years to make this joke work. But all I did was I tried it a few times. I knew it had legs, but I just didn't know how to make it happen. And I just put it away. And then it came to a point where it was like, okay, so now all of these other pieces exist. It's much more mainstream now. And boom, it worked. And so I was really happy about that. And so that's a good example of you never know, go back and revisit stuff. But yeah, the young comics now coming up, it would just be, bide your time, put the hours in, put the work in, and be nice.
Amazing, amazing. Lisa, I can't thank you enough for your time. I think you're absolutely adorable. Tell Darren I said hello and that he's fantastic. And just one last thing before we go, please say it loud, please say it proud. I love Newsload.
Oh, I know, I love Newsload.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I hope you have the most amazing day.
You too, thanks.
Bye, Lisa.
This is the Newsload.